For months, everyone talked about Manchester City like a team that had finally come back down to earth. A side that had lost its aura, lost its rhythm, lost the fear it once inspired. A shaky run of form, defeats to Brighton, Tottenham, Aston Villa, and Newcastle had raised serious questions. The critics were circling, and the noise from the stands was growing louder. A question once unthinkable in the Pep Guardiola era was now being whispered. Is the dynasty fading? The attack looked predictable, the passing slower than usual, the dominance gone. And yet, right in the middle of all that doubt, something began to shift. A gritty win against Leeds, a chaotic 5-4 explosion at Fulham, a clinical dismantling of Sunderland. Suddenly, the whispers changed. Haaland hits 100 Premier League goals. Foden looks reborn. Decisive, ruthless, smiling again. Rayan Cherki drops a Rabona assist like he's playing street football in Lyon. This wasn't luck. This wasn't just a bounce back. This was a transformation, and Pep Guardiola felt it too. In his press conference, calm and almost amused, he delivered the line that hit every rival fan like a gut punch. Translation, City are finding their rhythm, and once they find it, good luck stopping them. Even the fans could sense the monster waking up. Rayan Cherki. That's it. That's the name. Shake off 2 straight losses, then reel off 3 wins, 5 assists already. Foden playing the football of his life. 2 points off Arsenal. Rodri returning soon. January window coming. Manchester City are coming. Yes, we are coming. This wasn't confidence. This was prophecy. Because over the last few weeks, City didn't just start winning. They started overwhelming teams. Pressing faster, attacking quicker, finishing like a team that suddenly remembered exactly who they are. They scored 5 in pure chaos, 3 in total control. They won with elegance, violence, composure, and madness, all at once. A team that everyone thought was figured out suddenly looks unstoppable again. More dynamic, more unpredictable, more terrifying. And what comes next for the Premier League might just be another chapter in the same nightmare managers have lived through for 7 years. This is why there's no way this Man City attack is real. The story of Manchester City's terrifying attack doesn't begin with goals. It begins with doubt. Real, uncomfortable doubt. The kind that hadn't existed around Pep Guardiola's team in nearly a decade. The summer of 2025 brought questions sharper than ever. 8 years in England, dozens of trophies, a legacy built on control. But football was shifting into a faster, more chaotic cycle. Could City's precision survive it? Could Pep still reinvent himself? August delivered a brutal answer. In their second game of the season, Tottenham beat City 2-0. It wasn't just the defeat that stung, it was how unfamiliar City looked. They had 69% possession but created almost nothing. Spurs pressed high and the structure collapsed under the pressure. For the first time in 18 months, City went back-to-back Premier League matches without scoring. A week later at Brighton, it got worse. 2 goals conceded from wide transitions, 14 shots faced in 180 minutes, more than in any 2-game stretch the season before. The numbers were alarming. The optics were worse. Pundits sharpened their knives. Gary Neville, this isn't control, it's confusion. Jamie Carragher, City are predictable. They've lost the fear factor. Even rival managers whispered that Guardiola's system had been decoded. Inside the Etihad, it wasn't panic, but it was a reckoning. The XG difference had dropped to its lowest level in 5 years. Haaland scored once in his first 4 games, his slowest start in England. Rodri picked up an injury, and Cherki later joined the injury list in late August. The passing sequences that once terrified teams now looked uncertain and slow. City felt heavy. Pep looked tired. The league sensed decline. But decline wasn't the truth. The truth was sharpness. Pep cut training sessions longer, not harsher. He simplified the positional map, reduced the choreography, focused on rhythm, one-touch combinations, vertical passing triggers, faster rest defense recovery. The press didn't see the work. They saw the table. They saw the headlines. They saw a manager who no longer looked invincible. At his pre-derby press conference, Guardiola didn't defend himself. He didn't fight back. He simply said, "Football doesn't change because of opinions. It changes because of work." It was a quiet warning, and the response began earlier than anyone realized. Mid-September, Manchester Derby, the kind of fixture you cannot hide inside. City won 3-0. Foden opened the scoring, Haaland delivered a clinical brace, and new signing Gianluigi Donnarumma produced a debut that changed the team's entire aura. Commanding, calm, confident. A goalkeeper who made risk feel safe again. That performance was more than a win. It was a blueprint. Territory controlled, transitions managed, wide isolation for Doku, central overloads for Foden. Haaland restored to his natural habitat inside the box. 4 days later, City beat Napoli 2-0 in Europe. Haaland became the fastest to 50 Champions League goals. The rest defense tightened, the rhythm returned, and slowly, the narrative shifted. City stopped reacting to criticism. They started dictating games again. This wasn't the final form of Guardiola's team. This was the reset. The quiet reassembly of a machine that had been knocked off balance and was now realigning itself with frightening precision. By October to late November, the patterns became undeniable. Faster ball progression, sharper third-man combinations, wingers drifting in C instead of hugging the touchline, defenders stepping into scoring positions, Pep embracing the chaos of the modern game rather than resisting it. City no longer waited for perfect angles. They struck the moment a gap appeared. They no longer played slow to suffocate opponents. They played fast to overwhelm them. What looked like a crisis in August was actually the hinge point. From that low came clarity. From clarity came evolution, and from evolution came a version of Manchester City nobody in the league was prepared for. City didn't rebuild, Pep reloaded, and what followed, the goals, the chaos, the rebirth of their attack, is the terrifying proof of it. If Manchester City's resurgence had a soundtrack, Erling Haaland would be the baseline. Deep, relentless, impossible to ignore. Every time City needed a breakthrough this season, the Norwegian simply stepped into frame and reminded the league why defenders talk about him like a natural disaster. 15 Premier League goals by early December, a century of league goals reached in just 111 games, the fastest in history. These aren't statistics, they're warnings carved into stone, and yet this version of Haaland feels different, sharper, more complete, more involved in the build-up, dropping to link play, dragging center backs into places they don't belong. Pep wanted a striker who didn't just finish moves, but shaped them, and Haaland has embraced that responsibility. He's part poacher, part battering ram, part facilitator. In chaos matches like the 3-1 against Bournemouth, the 3-0 against Liverpool, and the absurd 5-4 away at Fulham, his fingerprints are everywhere. City don't need him to dominate 90 minutes. They need half a chance, a loose ball, a gap the width of a shoelace. Give him an inch and you start preparing the restart. But while Haaland is the weapon, Phil Foden became the soul of the attack. And his resurgence might be the most emotional thread of City's season. A year ago, he looked dimmed, not finished, not broken, but dulled. A talent weighed down by expectation, form, and personal battles that never make headlines. The magic was still there, but the spark flickered. This season, the spark is back, and it's burning through the league. Pep moved him inside again, where his intelligence and ball control become lethal. Foden thrives in chaos. He loves tight spaces, heavy pressure, and moments where the game seems to shrink around him. It all came together in that wild night against Leeds. A brace, complete with a 90-minute winner that felt like the rebirth of a star. A week later, he rose to nod home from Turkey's Rabona cross against Sunderland. A finish filled with the confidence of a player who no longer hides from the moment. Foden doesn't just score goals, he scores turning points. And if Foden brought the rhythm, Rayan Cherki supplied the color. Pep's new artist of chaos, a playmaker who moves like the game bends around him. 5 Premier League assists already. A Rabona cross that instantly became a season highlight. 2-footed passing, unpredictable body feints, and constant freedom to drift wherever the attack needs oxygen. He's not replacing Kevin De Bruyne. He's reinventing the creativity that City lost when KDB stepped aside. Cherki plays without fear. Exactly the kind of free soul Pep trusts to break rules responsibly. Whenever he receives the ball, the tempo accelerates, passing lanes appear, and defenders are forced into decisions they hate making. He doesn't wait for the attack to form, he creates the moment the ball touches his boot. But even Cherki isn't City's most destabilizing dribbler. That honor belongs to Jeremy Doku, the winger who turns Premier League fullbacks into training cones. His acceleration is so sharp it looks like a jump cut. His dribbling numbers lead the league, and Pep, recognizing the chaos he creates, has stopped using him as a traditional winger. This season, Doku drifts inside, receives between the lines, switches wings, and bends defensive structures until they snap. He scored against Liverpool, he carved open Bournemouth, he shredded Leeds. Every time he touches the ball, the energy changes. Stadiums rise, defenders panic, and teammates sprint because they know something is coming. And crucially, his decision-making has matured. He's no longer dribbling to dribble, he's dribbling to destroy. Between Haaland's inevitability, Foden's clarity, Cherki's imagination, and Doku's chaos, City assembled a front line that covers every angle of danger. One strikes fear, one controls tempo, one unlocks defenses, and one melts them entirely. Individually, they're brilliant. Together, they're terrifying. This isn't an attack built on one idea, one pattern, or one superstar. It's a rotating, interchanging swarm of solutions. A system where any of the four can win the game, and often more than one does. If the early season struggles were the fracture, this quartet became the fuse. And from the moment they clicked, City didn't just return, yeah, they evolved into something the league still hasn't figured out how to contain. There's a moment every great team reaches when the opposition finally accepts the truth. You're not just defending attackers, you're defending everybody. For Manchester City, that moment arrived in late November and early December, when the back line stopped behaving like a back line and started behaving like auxiliary forwards. Take Rúben Dias, a center back who built his reputation on leadership and tackling angles, not 25-yard rockets. Against Sunderland, he stepped into midfield, looked up, and unleashed a strike that belonged to a number 10. A clean, rising hit that detonated into the top corner and sent the Etihad into disbelief. It wasn't a deflection or a scramble, it was intent, a message. Then there's Joško Gvardiol, who quietly became one of City's most dangerous weapons in the box. He scored against Leeds with a towering header that dragged City back into the match, then repeated the trick against Sunderland, arriving late, timing the leap, and burying another chance like he's been doing it for years. 2 goals in 2 crucial league matches from a defender who treats set pieces like personal invitations. Their contributions aren't accidents. City have engineered a system where the back line becomes an extension of the attack. From corners, second phases, and long-range opportunities, Dias and Gvardiol have added 4 Premier League goals between them across a stretch where City desperately needed extra scoring sources. Opponents can block Haaland, they can trap Foden, they can shadow Cherki, but they cannot prepare for a center back arriving unmarked at the far post or stepping into midfield to unleash a shot. This is why defending City has become an impossible puzzle. You're not just outplayed, you're overwhelmed. Whether it's the first phase or the last, the danger keeps multiplying. And this growing threat dovetails perfectly with City's evolving personality since October. A team equally comfortable in absolute chaos and total control. Look at their results. 3-0 versus Liverpool, 3-0 versus Sunderland. 2 clean, efficient, suffocating performances where City dictated every rhythm of the match. Higher press, tighter rest defense, structured patterns, and chance creation that looked practiced and inevitable. In both games, the opponent barely breathed inside City's half. This is Guardiola at his most surgical. The matches where City feel like a machine built to dismantle you piece by piece. But then compare that with the other side of their identity. 5-4 versus Fulham, 3-2 versus Leeds. 2 matches that felt like they were played inside a storm. Leeds changing hands, transitions exploding, defenders scrambling, chaos in every direction. And yet in both games, City found answers, not by calming the chaos, but by mastering it. Against Leeds, they conceded twice but kept producing clear chances until the inevitable happened. Phil Foden in stoppage time, scoring like he wrote the script himself. Against Fulham, they surrendered 4 goals yet still found a way to score 5. The kind of result that looks ridiculous on paper but makes perfect sense when you watch City's patterns. Across this stretch, City averaged 2.3 goals per league match, scored 8 goals in 2 chaotic games, and added 6 goals in 2 control matches. They can win with 70% possession or with 40. They can win playing slowly or at full sprint. They can dominate with territory or with transitions. Whatever version of the game the opponent wants, City simply beats them at it. Most teams have one identity. Manchester City now have 2, and both are elite. When they choose control, they smother you. When the match descends into mayhem, they punish every mistake. And if you somehow survive the front line, the midfield rotations, and the wing overloads, Dias or Gvardiol will finish the job. This is the new reality of Manchester City. You can plan for their patterns, you can train for their movement, you can study their rotations. But when the whistle blows, you're no longer facing a team, you're facing a swarm. And whether the match becomes a tactical chessboard or a street fight with no rules, the result is the same. Against this Manchester City side, you lose. When you step back from the goals, the runs, the Rabonas, and the chaos, a more unsettling truth begins to emerge. This Manchester City attack isn't finished, it's forming. That's the part the league should fear. The new signings aren't even fully integrated yet. Tijani Reijnders, with his press resistance and passing range, is still learning the rhythm of Pep's midfield. Nico González continues to adjust to the pace of the Premier League, but already looks like a natural successor in the pivot. Even Donnarumma, whose presence transformed the team's defensive confidence, is only scratching the surface of what he can be under Guardiola's coaching. And then there are the younger players. The ones developing quietly, consistently, away from the spotlight. Nico O'Reilly growing more fearless at left back. Cherki evolving into a creative leader at just 22. Foden entering his prime years with a maturity that wasn't there 12 months ago. Every week, this squad looks sharper, the passing cleaner, the movement more instinctive, the combinations faster. City have already scored in every possible way, through structure, through transitions, through individual brilliance, and even through defenders arriving like surprise strikers. That versatility normally takes seasons to build, yet City found it by December. But the real giveaway, the sign every rival manager dreads, is the change in Pep Guardiola himself. He's smiling again, not the calm, polite smile, the other one, the smile he gets when the pieces finally fit, the smile that means the work is showing, the ideas are clicking, and the squad has entered that dangerous mode where every game becomes a lesson rather than a challenge. When Pep smiles like that, the league usually suffers. And make no mistake, Arsenal and Liverpool know exactly what this means, because every time City have gone into chase mode under Guardiola, someone has cracked, but always at the moment when City hit full stride and refused to lose. The gap right now doesn't matter. The form lines don't matter. The noise doesn't matter. What matters is momentum. What matters is the direction of travel. And what matters is that Manchester City, after a turbulent start, now look like a team accelerating at full speed with every game. This isn't just an attack. It's a signal, a warning shot across the league, a reminder that even in a season where they faltered, doubted, and reshaped themselves, the machine is still warming up. The scariest part of all, Manchester City are not at their peak yet, and when they get there, everyone else will just be trying to survive the storm.